Welcome to a new section of the Lightroom editing course. In this section, we are looking at some specific ways you can enhance your portraits. So some of these techniques and styles you've probably learned in the basic sections, but I just wanted to break them down once more and kind of dive a little bit deeper so you fully understand how to use these tools. I am using a new folder of practice photos that I've included in this section for download. It is a sort of a full range of photos, and for each sort of example, I have a different photo I'm going to use. So for this photo, we are enhancing eyes, and so go ahead and follow along with the eyes JPEG photo. All right, so if you go to your brushes over here, clicking the adjustment brush, and then you click the effect, you actually have an iris enhance brush. Now that's one of the brushes we're going to be using to enhance the color. We can also use a brush to basically change the color of someone's eyes, and then we can also brighten the whites of someone's eyes. So let's go in here and first zoom in with the Z button. Now if you zoom in and you have a brush tool open, you would have to press the space bar to click and drag. If I just start clicking, it's going to actually enable and start brushing. So make sure that you press the space bar to click and move around so we can see both eyes. All right, so before we do any brushing, for this example, I want to click the Show Mask Overlay button down here, or just press O on your keyboard to bring up that effect. I'm also going to leave auto mask on because I'm hoping that's going to help me select just the iris and not the whites of his eyes. We can play around with the brush size as well, but first let's just make our selections. So we do have, let's choose the iris enhance, and so that's what we're going to start with. And so I'm just going to paint around the iris like so. If it doesn't select the whole iris, just keep painting around. It does a pretty good job as I get closer to the edges at not selecting the whites, which is pretty good. So that's looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to do the other eye as well. Now you do have this eye light in his eyes, which is that white sort of reflection. And that's actually a technique in photography that helps make eyes actually pop and look better. So when you are shooting your own photos, try to have some sort of eye light. It could be the sun, it could be a light, an artificial light, and that actually helps make his eyes stand out. All right, so we can't really see what we did, so I'm gonna press O to turn off our mask overlay. And if I just turn on and off this brush with this button down here, you can start to see that the eyes and the irises start to get a little bit quote unquote enhanced. Basically, all that was being done was the exposure was increased, the clarity increased, and then the saturation increased. Now, to make this even more extreme or more enhanced, we can adjust any of these. So we can increase the saturation, we can increase the clarity, we can increase the exposure. But if you go, especially with exposure, depending on the eye color, more so with brown or darker eye colors, it starts to look really weird really fast. Now that is a good sort of basic enhancement. If we want to make his eyes bluer, we can just take the temperature slider and drag to the left. Now it looks pretty blue right here, so you might want to zoom in or out. Pressing the Z key while we're using the brush tool is a good way to do that. And now we can kind of play with his eye color here. Now that is how you enhance blue eyes. If you had brown eyes, you could just warm up the temperature. I've found that to work pretty well. If you want to change his eye colors, let's get rid of that temperature adjustment. Click the color down here, which basically changes the hue. And then you can just pick really any sort of color. If we want to make his eyes more green, if we want to make him more brown, we can take something like a red, orange, and then when we go in there, we can actually go back up to temperature and make it warmer and then drop the exposure. So that's how you can make someone's eyes go from blue to brown just with the temperature slider and the color. Now I don't want to do that because I want to enhance his eye color. So you could, instead of using the temperature, just use the color picker down there. But I find that the temperature slider does a good job for blue eyes because we basically do just want to add some blue. But you can see here, pretty cool just to quickly and easily enhance eyes. Actually, I'm just going to leave it as green to make those really pop. So that's the first way to how to enhance the eyes and also change the eye color. The next thing we're going to do is play with the whites of the eye. So I'm going to click New, and then I'm going to double click Effect to get rid of any of these settings. I'm also going to leave Auto Mask on and press O to bring up our Show Selected Mask overlay, and then just start painting on to the whites of the eye. Now this is one way you can get rid of sort of the red eye. If someone has a lot of redness in their eye or in the veins, if you see a lot of veins. I got a little bit of his iris right there, so I'm going to take my eraser, erase right there. Okay, cool. So that's pretty good. Pressing O to get rid of that. Now to make the whites of the eye whiter, what we can do is decrease saturation just a little bit. Then also bring up exposure. Now, this is something to be a little bit careful about. If you go too much, it starts to look really, really kind of just weird and off. Over here, we have some shadows, so we might want to bring up these shadows just a little bit. Maybe even the blacks. Now, depending on how much you want to go, you can play with the saturation. Again, going all the way to the left is going to look weird. It's not getting rid of all the saturation, and you're probably like, Phil, why isn't it getting rid of all that saturation? And that's because the brush didn't select all of that red right there. So if you want to add more, just click the A, turn off Auto Mask. Let's make it really small. And let's just paint over those veins right there. Whoops. Don't want to move it. If you click on the original point and then drag, you can actually move this whole thing. And I want to make sure my density is up all the way. So that's another reason why that was probably not affecting overall. But this is actually a good example of where you want the density to be a little bit lower. It's all a balance. So if your density was up higher, you might not have needed to increase the exposure as much. Okay, cool. So that's looking pretty good. So if we go out here right now, you can see if we turn it on and off, how it changes. Now, doing this, you might see, wow, that's a little bit too much. So then you might want to come back here, bring back the exposure, bring back the blacks just a little bit to have some of that natural fade over here on his left side of his face. But something like that, looking pretty good. And as we know, the eyes are the window to the soul, and they're really the focus of most portraits. Oftentimes, unless it's a very creative portrait where you're focusing on something else like the nose or the lips or something like that, you want the eyes to be the thing that stands out. So again, we can see the before and after with the backslash button. Before, after, before, after. We can also go to this before after shot right here. Pretty darn cool, huh? Awesome. So that's how you enhance eyes and change the eye color. Let me know if you need any help or have any more questions, but I hope this inspires you and helps you become a better photo editor. See you in the next lesson.